If you're visiting the Disneyland Resort soon, you might be thinking about skipping the bulk of the lines using the lightning lanes. However, you also may be wondering, what is the best method for using this program? Should I even use this program to begin with? Ultimately, is it worth it? And if I get it, what should I do to make sure that I use it to its maximum? Well, my name's David Vaughn. I'm a theme park content creator, and I'm going to tell you all of these things, weighing the pros and cons of getting Disneyland's Lightning Lane Multi-Pass, as well as how to use the Lightning Lane Single Pass, which rides they work for, and ultimately how you can maximize these programs and really get the bang for your buck. So I'm going to break this down for you, make it super easy to understand. And the first question we got to ask is, what is a Lightning Lane? So back 20 plus years ago, Disneyland had something called Fast Pass. If you've ever used that, it was basically a lane designated to help you skip the bulk of the line. However, Fast Pass didn't work with every single attraction. Instead, it worked for the most popular ones inside the parks. And so Disneyland actually would add on a special queue just for these attractions. But Fast Pass eventually went extinct and is now a thing of the past. However, the lines are still there. Disney then introduced a program called Disney Genie Plus, which you also may have heard of. A lot of people call it the Genie Pass, but it was called Disney Genie Plus. This was a paid program that allowed you to skip the lines using the Fast Pass queues. However, as of July 24th, 2024, Disneyland no longer calls it Disney Genie Plus and instead now calls it Lightning Lane Multi-Pass. Lightning Lane Multi-Pass works just like the previous Disney Genie Plus, allowing you to book using the Disneyland app for select rides and skip the bulk of the lines once you get in. You basically reserve a time and you have an hour window to return to the attraction. You just look for the Lightning Lane queue, line up there, show the cast member that you have this on your app, they scan it, and then they'll let you into the Lightning Lane queue, which often can save you even hours of waiting in line for a single attraction. Basically, if you're like, I really want to go to Disneyland, I just don't want to wait in the lines, how can I skip these? If you're willing to pay minimum $30 per person, then yes, you can skip the lines for many of the popular attractions. However, there are caveats. It's not like you can just walk up and say, hey, I bought it, I can skip the line. So I'm gonna break down even more what you can expect from Lightning Lane Multi-Pass, while also going into the couple of attractions that use another program called Lightning Lane Single Pass. So second up, let's talk a little bit more about pricing for Lightning Lane Multi-Pass and how you can purchase this. So basically, there are two different ways to purchase Lightning Lane Multi-Pass. The first one is purchasing in advance. When you buy your Disneyland tickets, you can add on Lightning Lane Multi-Pass. You'll actually see an option to add it on before you check out in the final screen. A lot of folks really do like purchasing in advance because it actually does save you the most money. Currently, the prepaid price for Lightning Lane Multi-Pass is $30. However, once you get to the park, it's typically more. You're gonna see it at $35 or more. So that gets to my second way. How can you purchase it? Because let's say you already have your tickets or you have a Magic Key annual pass and you want to get a Lightning Lane. So if you already have your admission into the parks, the only other way that you can get Lightning Lane Multi-Pass is to actually purchase it once you enter either Disneyland Park or Disney California Adventure Park. So once they scan your ticket into the park, you enter, and then you can go on the Disneyland app and you'll see an option like this on the screen to add Lightning Lane Multi-Pass. You will have to purchase it for each person in your party, but the starting range usually begins about $35 per person, but it can go up to even more. Now, we haven't seen Lightning Lane Multi-Pass hit $50 per person yet, but I think it's safe to say it's probably coming, especially if you go on a super busy day like between Christmas Day and New Year's Eve. In addition, Disneyland does not tell us how much Lightning Lane Multi-Passes are going to be before the day of your visit, so we won't totally know. However, a little tip here is, if you're visiting during the week, it tends to be less expensive than on the weekends. Unless you're traveling around the holiday season toward the end of the year, then it's pretty much the same every single day. You can expect that Lightning Lane Multi-Pass will typically be less expensive if you visit on like a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday than it would be if you visited on a Saturday or a Sunday. So now let's talk about the rides that you can actually use the Lightning Lane Multi-Pass for, because like I said earlier, it doesn't work for every single ride, usually just the most popular ones. However, there are some exclusions. So starting off at Disneyland Park, we have Autopia, Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, Buzz Lightyear Astro Blasters, Haunted Mansion, Indiana Jones Adventure, It's a Small World, Matterhorn Bobsleds, Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, the Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run, Roger Rabbit's Cartoon Spin, Space Mountain, and Star Tours The Adventures Continue. However, temporarily in 2024, we also saw the addition of Pirates of the Caribbean, and this was mostly because Haunted Mansion, as well as Splash Mountain now becoming Tiana's Bayou Adventure, were not available, which typically use a lightning lane. So we may eventually see later this year that Pirates of the Caribbean actually does drop off the lightning lane list, but it's not really needed for this ride. But anyway, I will get a little bit more into that later. Now at Disney California Adventure, the attractions that you can use your lightning lane multi-pass to book a lightning lane for are Goofy Sky School, Grizzly River Run, Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout, The Incredicoaster, The Little Mermaid Ariel's Undersea Adventure, Monsters Inc. Mike and Sully to the Rescue, Soarin', Toy Story Midway Mania, and Web Slingers A Spider-Man Adventure. Now, I also want to note, if any of these attractions are under refurbishment, then the lightning lane obviously won't be available because the ride won't be available. I do update which attractions will be unavailable, usually on a monthly basis. So if you hit the subscribe button, you can get further updates for visiting the Disneyland Resort. I also post more tips and other fun things to do, as well as snack recommendations and more. A popular video of mine are my monthly updates. But now I want to talk about another type of lightning lane pass that you can purchase. This is called Lightning Lane Single Pass. Now, before this was called Individual Lightning Lane, they just slightly changed the name, but basically it works for two different attractions that are not included as part of Lightning Lane Multipass, and that includes Star Wars Rise of the Resistance at Disneyland Park and Radiator Springs Racers in Cars Land at Disney California Adventure. Single Pass means that you will have to purchase individually each lightning lane for each person in your party if you want to use the lightning lane for these attractions. Again, they're not included as part of your multi-pass. That's why they're called a single pass, because they're on their own. But this single pass does fluctuate in price. You might spend $20 or more per person just to use the line to cut this. So it's not always worth it, but you can purchase these individually by searching the ride name in the Disneyland app. Now, before I get into the tips for how you can best use lightning lanes and really maximize this program once you get into the parks, if you're still like, should I get it? Let's weigh some of the pros and cons to help you make the most informed decision. And also, if you've already purchased this will be helpful because it may tell you some things about the program that you may not have realized or known. So starting off with the pros, obviously it does allow you to skip the line. So if you're seeing that Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway is at 50 minutes, you may only wait 15 or 20 minutes in the lightning lane before you're on the ride and experiencing it. However, it could also be much shorter than that as well. So saving that time in line not only gets you out of a queue, but also gives you the ability to ride more attractions. Another great perk is one person in your party can actually book for everybody. Just make sure that everybody's tickets are linked to that person's app. And then when they go to book these lightning lanes, they can select everybody and then everybody gets the same time. And the last pro is that Lightning Lane Multipass works for both parks. So you don't have to purchase this individually for every park. That $130, $35 or more price actually works for Disneyland Park and Disney California Adventure. If you purchased a park hopper ticket that day, then you don't have to worry about any other prices. So really getting you out of the queue and saving a lot of time is really the biggest pro, because then you can do other things like go shopping, relax, stroll the parks, dining. And if it's hot outside, it might even be really nice to not be stuck in a queue. Now on to some of the cons of using Lightning Lane Multipass. So the first con obviously might be that you have to pay for it. So it is an added expense on top of your ticket to your visit. Second, if you're not fast enough, like if you stroll in later at like 11 a.m., you may miss out on a lot of lightning lanes. Some of the more popular attractions like Space Mountain can book up. Next con is the busier the day, the harder it is to book a lightning lane. And also the lines for the lightning lanes can be longer the more people that purchase multi-pass during their visit. So yeah, you may end up waiting 30 minutes or more in the lightning lane if it's busy that day. However, compared to like the 90-minute or even 2-hour wait, that might be worth it. And the final con is, well, you can only book one lightning lane per ride using the multi-pass. So if Big Thunder Mountain is your favorite ride and you planned on booking it 3 times in your trip, well, you can't do that. Disneyland limits guests to just one lightning lane per attraction using the multi-pass. And really the last con is that not all lightning lanes are created equal. For example, waiting in the Lightning Lane queue for Space Mountain could save you 50 minutes or more because not only do they prioritize the Lightning Lanes for getting inside the attraction, but also the queue will have fewer people. But when you go on a ride like Indiana Jones Adventure, it only actually skips the outside portion of the attraction. So most guests are typically waiting inside the temple part. So if you're not seeing a long line on the outside, then you might only be saving yourself a few minutes of wait time. And it may have been a better choice for you to book something like Matterhorn bobsleds or even Big Thunder Mountain, because those would save you time even if the Indiana Jones queue says it's longer. All right, so now I'm on to my tips section, and you might be wondering after what I just said, so then what are the rides that are the best to use with my Lightning Lane multipass? Here's a list of attractions at Disneyland Park that I highly recommend prioritizing if you're getting the Lightning Lane multipass. These are the attractions that you really should be considering booking first, and they include Space Mountain, Haunted Mansion, Matterhorn bobsleds, Big Thunder Mountain, and Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. And I'll also say this is basically in this order. There may be certain times in the day where these flip, but ultimately this is the best one. And then over at Disney California Adventure, we have Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout, Toy Story Mania, Web Slingers, Soarin', and then Monsters Inc. Now that you're seeing this list, and again, these are the ones I recommend in order, prioritizing based on demand. So then what are the worst rides for Lightning Lane in each park? At Disneyland, I would say Autopia, Buzz Lightyear, and Star Tours. And then at Disney California Adventure, it would be The Little Mermaid. And these are really because these attractions typically have really short ride wait times, so you're not really saving a ton of time. I would also add Pirates of the Caribbean to that list. However, during the holidays, these lines can get pretty long, so having Disney Genie Plus might work for any attraction you want to go on. Now, before I get into more tips to help you best maximize your Lightning Lane multipass, I do want to get into Tiana's Bayou Adventure, what we possibly could expect, and where you might want to rank this ride. Now, this updated attraction is expected to be incredibly popular at Disneyland Park when it debuts later in 2024. At the time of this video, we don't have an opening date for this ride, but I do want to get into what I think we can expect. So first thing is, at the Walt Disney World Resort, Tiana's Bayou Adventure is included as part of Lightning Lane Multipass. So my recommendation is to actually book a Lightning Lane Multipass for this attraction first if you're planning on going on it. I do expect in the early days of this attraction coming out that the Lightning Lane multipasses are going to book up super quickly. So my tips for Tiana's Bayou Adventure is, one, if you plan on going on it, definitely rank this number one. Make this the first Lightning Lane that you book that day because you don't want it to book up. And the second tip is, and this is really for pretty much anybody who wants to maximize the multipass, get to the park at open or shortly after, because really you want to be in a head start. And again, you cannot book your Lightning Lane until once you are actually inside the gates for Disneyland or Disney California Adventure. So you can't book it from your hotel room unless you've already scanned into the park. And you can't send somebody from your party in because everybody who's going to be booking a Lightning Lane also has to scan into the park that day. So just keep in mind that you can't really hack the system that way. Everybody's got to be inside the park, and you can't book a Lightning Lane before you get to the park. So I do recommend getting there early because that's going to be your best bet. Guests who stroll in at 10:30 a.m. often complain that they were only able to book 2 or 3 rides that they really wanted to go on because a lot of other guests booked the other ones before they came, or they would see like Space Mountain wasn't available until like 10:30 that night. So the third thing is, let's say that your Lightning Lane that you want to book isn't until 10:30. What do? Well, a really good tip is you can actually just keep refreshing the app. If somebody cancels their Lightning Lane, you can pick it up. That's an option for you. So just because it's not available doesn't mean that you won't have access to being able to book a Lightning Lane. You just gotta be a little patient. In addition, and I did highlight this before, but once you use a Lightning Lane, you can immediately book another. However, let's say that you get to the park around 8:30 a.m., you book Space Mountain, but it's not good until like 11:30 a.m., so you have 3 hours. Does that mean you have to wait 3 hours? Well, no, because the rule is once 2 hours has passed, you can book another Lightning Lane. And in the app, it'll actually tell you when you can book your next lightning lane, so you don't have to keep guessing. If you go to try to book a lightning lane, it will say like, hey, this is the time that you can book your next one. All right, so moving on to my final tips for this video. Parents with younger kids also may want to reconsider getting Lightning Lane Multipass because there may not be as many attractions that they can ride. Some of the attractions do have height restrictions. However, here is a list of attractions that don't have any height restrictions and you can use a Lightning Lane for with Multipass. Now, let's say that you're thinking, I don't want to get Lightning Lane Multipass. Here's why you may still want to purchase it for at least one person in your party. Getting Lightning Lane Multipass also comes with a limited PhotoPass downloads. So when Disney photographers take your picture inside the parks or you get a ride photo for select attractions, then you can download those photos as much as you want, post them to your social media platforms, however you'd like. It is a really great way to have memories of your trip. You can have a Disney photographer take your picture in front of the castle and other iconic spots. And photo lenses are really fun too. This is also included as part of Lightning Lane Multipass. Kids love this. It's kind of like Snap filters, but Disney-fied. So that's everything that you would need to know before going and using Lightning Lane Multipass at Disneyland. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It really does help my channel out. Thanks for watching this video. And if you want more Disneyland tips, hit the subscribe button and I'll keep you updated.